Everyone, welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Arsenal this weekend. We'll start off with Anton from Sky.
Hi. After a long season, how does it feel to know that 6 o'clock on Sunday it's all over?
Pleasing, to be honest. It's been a very long season for many different challenges that have come our way. A lot of work done by many to make sure that we look after ourselves, so I'm pleased with that. But no, very, very tiring season. But like I say, the balance of that is a very pleasing season.
When you're sitting on the beach or at a music festival, how are you going to unwind this summer? How are you going to look back? Great. How are you going to look back on the season, and has it been your most difficult in management?
Yeah, it's definitely been my most difficult because of the challenges. You know, in-house is one thing, but then when it comes from outside and the varying things that have happened, the curveballs that have come along, it does make it a challenge, you know, and reacting to them, trying to find a balanced view of it, and then moving forwards again, and then repeating, of course, the second time around with the points particularly. Yeah, and a lot of work done. Like I say, it's not just, you know, I have to front it up, but a lot of work done by a lot of people, and you know, I thank them for their work as well. Kev's included in that. It's, you know, a very difficult job currently, trying to sort of fathom out the business meets the performance side of things and bring that together. Myself, the staff and the players. So I think everyone's played their part. And of course the fans, without them and their support, it'd be a more challenging season without a doubt.
You mentioned Kevin for that while there, obviously. Some kind of planning is going towards the next season, but is it difficult to plan with so many question marks around what's going on in the big picture?
It is, but we've excuse me, we're trying to be flexible about it, and with the scouting system, the staff as well, you know, creating our own knowledge bank of varying outcomes, you know, and we've got to be ready for what comes next, and that is a difficult challenge, of course, but it's the reality. So we've tried to, and I certainly do. We focus on realities rather than the myths, you know, and the conjecture and the noise, as I call it. We just focus on the realities of the challenge. So we are doing that.
Does it affect the players as well, though, considering obviously some don't know whether they're going to come back in it?
Well, they've seemed pretty, you know, we had a really tough spell, but they've seemed pretty clear-minded about the realities, you know, partly because I tell them the realities and, you know, explain that to them and share it with them, and they sometimes share a view back. Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things, you know, I suppose at the end of the day, whatever way you look at it, the challenge of football as an individual, as a team, is to win, and that doesn't go away, you know. The varying stories around it, they are more difficult to deal with now because of the inclusion of social media and the amount of media presence. But, you know, staying focused on the job has been really pleasing for me, because whatever happened this season, whatever happens in the future, you've got to win games, you know. And I think the players, myself and the staff, and the team feel has corrected that after a really tough spell by winning the games we did at the end of the season, and we've never gone far away from that. So in spite of all the noise and all the varying challenges, it doesn't actually change the fact of football. You've got to try and win, and that's what we've attempted to do. We've done it enough, certainly, to look after ourselves.
We don't know what's going to happen around VAR even next season. Obviously, there's going to be a vote about whether it should stay or not. I just want to know your thoughts about it, from the absolute, should we have it or not?
Well, from my point of view, I think it's a necessary part of the business side of football. I totally understand the fan engagement side is tricky, but it's such big business now. You need as many of these details to be correct as possible. The use of it is obviously in question, and I understand that. The offside for me is a given. I don't buy into. I can't really work out this idea of tolerance. At the end of the day, you're offside. You're offside. That's what it's there for. If you're offside by a toe, you're still offside. I'd like to know if they do that in the 100-metre sprint. You know, oh, sorry, we'll give it to the second one, just even though they didn't quite win it. So that one was clear for me. That's a good side of VR, personally. The challenge is trying to bring it to a much more smoother operation, you know, and there has been some mistakes made. They've got to be eradicated, of course. But I still think that, like I say, I'll go back to the beginning, the business side of football is so powerful, and it's so apparent that it's vital to some clubs, including ours this season, that therefore you want them decisions to be correct. But in balance that, as I said, the fan engagement side and the fan side of it, then that's a trickier situation. I don't agree, I must say, this thing that's growing with power, this idea of miking refs now, I think there's enough scrutiny. I don't know why you do that, but anyway, it seems to be the next step, or that's what I'm read in the papers.
Is that like a true defender?
Well, no, I just think, why add even more scrutiny to them? They've obviously had a tough season. That's been well documented. Why add more? Give them less. You know, take the pressure off them. Allow them to have some form of professional enjoyment of doing their jobs. It's very tough being a referee and a lines person. So therefore, for me, it's like take it off them. Don't add more on. No, I don't think But anyway, look, that's my personal opinion. I think give them less and let them focus on just getting on with refereeing and try and enjoy the professional side of it. Because it's not easy for referees or for lines persons, as I said.
Finally, you mentioned enjoyment. You enjoying potentially being spoiler this weekend?
Spoiler, no, I'm not enjoying any of that. I'm not bothered with it. It's more about us continuing the thought process I've put in place this season, the mentality side of things. I've spoken endlessly about it. The mentality has been important. We've got to continue with that. It's not interest to me. It's out of my hands who wins, loses, and all that kind of business. It's more in the fact that we're on a good show of form for ourselves and our own reasons. And it's about keeping that mentality going into the final game. Tough ask. They're a great side and they're showing that this season. And who knows what could happen next. But no, it's more focusing on us going and performing.
Thank you.
Sean, you called it one of your more difficult seasons in management. Just how proud are you of yourself, your staff, your playing staff to finish the season in the way that you're currently only 5 unbeaten, to finish safe? You must be really proud.
Yeah, please. Performance like that, that's a problem. That's not a challenge. That's a real problem. And to adapt to make sense of it and change the format, including ourselves, the staff, ask more questions of ourselves in such a short period, and then take on the next game and then sort of win that one and then take it forwards and win the derby, etc., etc. Well, that's very, very pleasing, of course, and ends up defining a season that shouldn't have, in my opinion, been defined by that, because in a different way, the points really have affected the season on a huge level when we got the first lot of points and then the second lot. If you look back to them days then, we were already doing nicely, changing the way that we were working. That definitely affected the psychology of the players for a period. At first not, but then after that period, and then you get second amount of points. Hard to take that. So overall, I've been very pleased, not just with the end, but the whole season's work.
I'm focusing on the 90 minutes purely on Sunday, not who deserves to win the league and all that kind of thing. But what environment are you expecting to walk into on Sunday, given the weight of the fixture in particular for us?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's been bubbling there for a while now, so I'd expect it to be the same, that the energy that a crowd bring in such a game, the event, if you like, the onus and the focus will be on them, quite obviously, and rightly so, after the season they're having, and still got a chance. It's everyone's saying it's unlikely and all that kind of business, but who knows in football? But we're certainly not there anything other than to perform and to compete. That's been one of the markers I've spoken endlessly about since I've been at the club. So that'll be our aim, just to go down there and play well.
How do you pick apart their weaknesses? How do you go about?
Very, very difficult. Very difficult. The way they've performed and the way they've grown as the season's gone on and stayed in there and forced themselves in there at times. There's no two ways about top side, without a shadow of a doubt, as it happens at this stage, or currently anyway. There's another top side out there who are doing just as good, if not slightly better job, for obvious reasons, as the league table suggests. But no, they're having a great season. So, no, it's not easy. We'll have to perform very well, we know that, and we'll likely going to have to defend very well as well, because that's the type of side they are, particularly at home.
And finally, there'll be a few awards given out on Saturday. I think it reached its conclusion. Player of the Years, Young Player of the Years, who would be deserving for you this season?
What, for us?
In terms of the Premier League as a whole.
Well, the only one I'm surprised at, Jarrod Braithwaite didn't make the list. I'm amazed by that, but it's not for me to pick them out. Various awards, I'm not really that big on awards, to be honest. So whoever they choose, I'm sure they'll be worthy of it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chauncey. I'll go to Julie.
Hey, Sean. There's still lots of reports, despite the fact you're safe and you go into this game in a completely different mindset to what it's been in recent months. There's still a lot of reports around prospective owners, deadlines and things. Have you had any contact with the owner, and how quickly would you ideally like this to be sorted now?
No more news. No more news. There's been for weeks and weeks and months and months. Watch this space. I'm in the same space as you are. Just wait and see.
The loss of money for each league place, you should be a lot higher given the points deductions. Just generally, what do you make of that situation with, the PSR sanctions of seeing points deductions and therefore dropping down the table? It's frustrating, isn't it, when, the club's trying to get back financially sound, isn't it? And it would have helped being much higher up where you should be. Yeah,
but that's maybe the conundrum of, I was suggesting, I know it's not easy, I made that clear, but in my imaginary view of the future is if you're doing it out of season, well, then at least you'd start with a level playing field. Well, you might not do if you've taken points off you, but you start with the reality. When it's taken off you midway through and then it knocks onto the finishing places and the money that's available, then when that's bound to be a challenge. But I suppose the simple argument is that, you know, if you've deemed to have been breaking the rules anyway, then you get what you get. So I think that's just one of them things. But as I said, for me, it would be done in the season, in the closed season. That would be my preference. But as I mentioned, yet again, I'm pretty sure the legalities and the legal teams say it's not quite that easy to get it done like that. But that would be a much better position, I think, for everyone to be in.
You just ask about Dele Alli. Is there any future for him at Everton? And also, I know you got to know him quite well, even though he's not been able to play. You know, if you can get sort of back fitness, how good a player could he be as well?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, my main aim, and I've spoken to him endlessly about it, is just get him back on the pitch, get him playing, get him smiling, get him enjoying it again, because he's had a real tough time. It became clear in his personal life, but that's well and truly parked. He looks good in himself. He seems well in himself. And on the training pitch, he looks like he's moving well. So there's certainly no other thoughts for now. I haven't changed that. It's get him back going, get him playing with a smile again. First of all, get him playing, of course, but enjoying it. Get back to enjoying what it is and the love of the game. And I think that's the end goal that I've certainly spoken to him about, regardless of his situation with us or anyone else for that matter. But get him back to that love of the game and love of what he does, because he's a top player without a doubt when he's fully fit and running.
We've all asked you about lots of different things this season. I wondered, given amongst all the negativity that went on, if you had a highlight of the season for yourself.
Green Day tickets. Fantastic. How do you know about that? You have a podcast, and next thing you know, they're ringing you saying you want some Green Day tickets.
They gave you tickets as well.
Yeah. So, no, joking apart. I don't know. Look, I mean, there's many. From a management point of view, there's many things I've been pleased with. Some I can discuss, some I can't. But I suppose from my point of view, purely, I've been pleased with the fact of handling a very, very tricky situation, and I think I've handled it reasonably well. And it's been a massive challenge to me as a person, not just as a football manager, because there's a high expectation, regardless of the facts and whys and wherefores of this football club. That goes out the window if you're not winning games. So I've been felt that I've handled that well. So I've been pleased with that from a purely management point of view. An individual moment. I mean, look, of course it counted to me, not the same as the fans, but beating Liverpool because of the years and the amount of time in at Goodison. So that counts, of course it does. But no, I think the whole is more important to me. I speak about a season's work, and it has been a season's work, and we've got there in the end. So I think the whole is more important than one-off moments. But I'm sure there are some highlights in there. I'll have a couple of Arsenal lager shandy and reflect on it next week.
Then, no.
yeah, not the tracksuit. Goodness me.
Okay, Julian, any further questions? Phil?
Just a team news, Sean. Andre Gomez, Jack Harrison. Any changes from
Jack won't be fit. Andre we're waiting on. We're hopeful that he'll be fit. Everyone else should be, apart from the longer term ones, everyone else should be okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. Any further questions in the open section, George?
Yeah, just about the transfers really. I mean, can you give any sort of positive news for the fans? Just things you hope for?
No, not at the moment, because it's still not a balanced situation. So we're just going to have to, like we said earlier in the earlier question, just going to have to look at a balanced view about many different guidelines about what could happen, what could occur. It puts a lot of added attention on the recruitment side of things, or the possible recruitment side of things, because obviously the wider the parameters, the harder it is. But that's been the reality since I got here. So we'll just be open-minded to be ready for what we can do when it comes our way.
I understand that, but obviously with the threat of a lot of people leaving with contracts and loan players, just how do you foresee the challenges of balancing all those things?
Well, like I say, we'll see. I think Kev spoke openly about there's an idea that we're likely to have to sell. We don't know who, we don't know what, we don't know when exactly, because obviously we're not open to that. But if people are likely to come for our players, which we think there's certain players they will do, then we'll have to be open to that, because that's just the current reality of the club and the finances of it.
Cheers. Any further questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.